Earlier this year, the world saw the release of Pokemon's latest spin-off game, Pokemon Legends Arceus. With how successful that game was, it's only natural that the Pokemon anime would want to incorporate a few elements from the game. It may not be a grand, time-traveling adventure for our heroes, but we still thought that we would take a quick look at the recent Arceus special to see where exactly its characters land on the morality spectrum. I'm Kyle with PokeBinge, and this is Pokemon the Arceus Chronicles. Good to evil. Now, just a heads up, we will be spoiling basically the entirety of the special, so you may want to go watch it on Netflix first. Naturally, we're going to be starting off with the most heroic and noble characters before working our way down to the most evil. These characters are the Good. Easily getting the gold medal of Good is the series' long-standing protagonist, Ash Ketchum. Whenever it comes to these Pokemon movies and specials, you can bet that this kid from Pallet Town is going to have a significant role, or at the very least, get a tiny bit more to do than anyone else. This isn't much of a surprise though. After all, Ash absolutely loves Pokemon. Not just battling them, but making friends with them and helping them out whenever he can. Although we can't say that Ash is the only one willing to help out the raging Heatran. Far from it, in fact. But he does still manage a couple of standout moments that earn him the top spot. Using his great improvising skills alongside the power of water, fire, and electricity, Ash is able to break through the giant Heatran to rescue the real Heatran, having the foresight to insulate it in both flames and Pikachu's electric web, so that it isn't hurt by all the water that's being used to try to cool down Heatran's rampaging form. If not for Ash's quick thinking, Heatran might not have been so lucky, and for this, we just had to give him our gold medal of Good. We're giving our silver medal of Good to Ash's former traveling partner from Sinnoh, Dawn. True to her character, Dawn is as cheerful and bubbly as ever during the special. Although meeting up with Ash and Go again is a surprise, Dawn goes out of her way to show them a good time at the Sinnoh Festival. From showing them where they can borrow traditional Hisuian clothes, to playing the Hisui catching game with them. Naturally, when things start to get dangerous, Dawn stands by her friend's side and does all she can to help. Remember, Dawn knows how dangerous Team Galactic is, having faced off against them before. But instead of being intimidated, she's just as determined to stop them as she was before, knowing very well that they have to be stopped. Through her partner, Piplup, she's able to provide the group with some pretty powerful water-type attacks. She can also be pretty considerate, as we see her take an extra moment to tell Brock to stay safe when he volunteers to stay behind. While this may be Dawn's last appearance in the anime for a while, she definitely went out on a high note. The bronze medal of Good has to go to Pokemon catcher extraordinaire, Go. Being a kid who seems to enjoy learning all he can about Pokemon, Go is always up for new experiences, no matter how crazy they may be. Although he's surprised at the fact that Ash and Dawn have both met the Sinnoh Lake Trio, as well as Arceus, he manages to do a pretty good job keeping up with the other two, despite his lack of experience. We also see him get pretty fired up at Team Galactic when he discovers that they were the ones who caused the Mount Coronet forest to get burned down, leading to all the Pokemon within that forest losing their home. This shows just how caring he's become about all Pokemon, not just his favorites like Mew. We see this again when he takes special care of Grookey, his grass-type starter, when things start to heat up. While he may not get as much to do in this special as his research partner, Ash, we see time and time again that he has a good heart and is just as eager as the other characters when it comes to adventure, even if he sometimes gets a bit more freaked out than they do. It's also nice how he gets so excited about Cynthia's catching game prizes, which ends up being a bunch of Sinnoh research books. Just under the special's main trio, we have Brock. Long ago, Brock served as the Pewter City Rock-type gym leader before going to travel with Ash. Now, Brock has managed to become a Pokemon doctor in training, which is a really noble profession. This doesn't mean, however, that Brock is just stuck in the Pokemon Center for the whole special. In fact, he's about as active as Ash, Dawn, and Go. He flies the trio up to Mount Coronet so that they don't have to walk the entire way. And when Team Galactic tries to stop their efforts, Brock volunteers to stay behind and keep them busy, using Croagunk, Blissey, and Steelix. He also trusts Cynthia with his Steelix and Blissey when she tells him to go on ahead to Mount Coronet's peak, though he does take compliments a bit too seriously, to the point where he acts silly around pretty girls, but it doesn't take away from the fact that Brock is pretty heroic. Moving on to the Sinnoh Lake trio, Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. Although they're pretty minor characters in the grand scheme of things, The legendary Lake Guardian trio do quite a bit to help out Ash, Go, and Dawn. In the first half of the special, they're the ones giving visions to the 3 trainers in an attempt to help them figure out what they need to do next. If it wasn't for them, Ash, Go, and Dawn wouldn't have known that it was the flame plate that was causing Heatran to rampage. Then, when it's time to rescue Heatran, the trio uses their psychic abilities to get Ash and the gang close enough to Heatran in order to help. They also use psychic to help everyone escape safely, something that wouldn't have been possible without them. Although it was Arceus who originally sent them, we felt the Lake Trio was simply more active in the actual mission. As such, they managed to earn a decent spot on our list. Rounding out our good section, we're ending this tier off with Sinnoh's champion, Cynthia. The nice thing about most Pokemon celebrities, like the gym leaders and regional champions, is how active they can be outside of battle, often socializing with the people of their region and helping out with events. Cynthia naturally is no exception to this rule. Throughout the Sinnoh Festival, we see her teaching guests about the former Hisui region that uses old-fashioned Pokeballs. When things start to go wrong, however, Cynthia does her best to try and catch up with the others, wanting to help. Unfortunately, while we can't say that Cynthia does anything wrong or immoral, she just doesn't have as much screen time as the other characters we've mentioned so far. She also doesn't do much whenever she does have the spotlight in a scene. We will give Cynthia credit for alerting the police about Team Galactic, and we compliment her teamwork skills that we see when she works together with Brock. This is really all she does, however. With the good section wrapped up, let's move into more neutral territory. These characters fall in the gray area. Starting off this tier, we have the Hisui trio, Oshawott, Rowlet, and Cyndaquil. These 3 Pokemon act as targets in the Hisui catching game that Cynthia sets up. During the game, they can be sneaky and tricky, unwilling to go down without a true fight. Although we suppose it's good that they're doing their part to make the game interesting and exciting. After they're all caught, the Hisui trio show off their friendlier side. Even Oshawott and Piplup are able to get along, despite their initial annoyance with each other. Cyndaquil still uses its flamethrower on Go, but according to Cynthia, that just means that it likes him. It may still hurt, but at least it's not doing it maliciously. Unfortunately, this is the last we see of the Hisuian trio, given the major role they played in the Legends Arceus game, as well as the new evolution forms they receive in that game. It would have been nice to see them participate in the final rescue of Heatran or in one of the battles against Team Galactic. But with how many Pokemon were already participating, we suppose that we can't blame the writers for wanting them to sit on the sidelines. Following is another Pokemon, Heatran. Now, of course, we aren't going to blame Heatran for all of the rampaging, as his lava form is mostly caused by Arceus' flame plate. He has no control over his lava form whatsoever, being completely trapped and helpless within. So why are we ranking him this low? Well, while we can't blame him for what happens after he does it, we still aren't really given a reason why he kept attacking the flame plate, or why he ended up swallowing it. We could theorize, but there's no canonical reason given. So to the audience, it just seems like Heatran was being reckless, especially since even his trainer, Saturn, was telling Heatran to stop. But we can't blame a Pokemon too much for a quick lapse in judgment, especially when there's a supernatural element like a plate from Arceus involved. And speaking of the alpha Pokemon, for our last gray tier character, we have the Pokegod himself, Arceus. Given that the special is named after him, Arceus is seen throughout it. He sends his Lake Trio to help out Ash, Go, and Dawn, and when things start getting too intense for those 3 to handle, Arceus finally makes his grand appearance and does his part to try and stop the giant lava Heatran from destroying all of Sinnoh. Arceus isn't lazy in this special by any means, but we still feel like he could have done a lot more. He is powerful enough to literally bend the laws of nature after all. Why couldn't he just rescue poor Heatran himself instead of letting Ash and the others figure it out for themselves? After the special's climax, we hear Cynthia say that Arceus wishes for people and Pokemon to overcome adversities together, and that while he'll appear to provide them with hints if they face a hardship too difficult to surpass, he still pushes people to overcome things on their own. While this is great for character building, given that the entire region of Sinnoh was in danger, we aren't sure if it was the right time for a lesson. It could also be argued that Arceus was cruel for leaving Team Galactic with any answers. Now yes, Team Galactic is awful, and any hints at their master being alright likely would have resulted in them trying to open yet another space-time gate. Still, You can't help but feel just a little bad for them. So overall, we felt that the neutral tier was the perfect spot for Arceus. He may not be too cruel when it comes to being a Pokegod, but he's not quite as helpful as we feel he could have been. And finally, we arrive at our villains for this special. These characters are the bad and the evil. Due to the nature of the special, we actually have a three-way tie for last place. The gold medal of evil is going to the Team Galactic trio, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. With how similar these three ultimately are within the special, we really didn't feel the need to separate them. All three have the same goal after all, to rescue Team Galactic's boss, Cyrus, using a time-space gate. With how much they care about their boss, these three are willing to do anything in order to create their gate, even if it means burning down an entire forest and putting hundreds of Pokemon and people at risk. What's more, they aren't even remorseful about it and even seem to taunt the heroes about their plans, barely even caring about the damage that they're causing. They see everything as disposable and not worth worrying about because their main goal after getting Cyrus back is to create a new world, one that will be perfect according to them. While none of the Galactic Trio really do much more to stand out from their group, we will give a bit of an extra spotlight to Saturn, being the one who originally catches Heatran. He only sees the Pokemon as a tool for him and his team, not caring about its well-being and even approving when it looks like Heatran is going to do exactly what they wanted it to, not being concerned at all for its own safety. To sum it up, these guys are evil and totally insane, with their only good trait, if you can even call it that, being their undying loyalty to their boss. Outside of this, they have no real redeeming qualities, and as such, more than earn the gold medal of evil. But let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge more of our Pokemon videos, including other good to evil and Spectrum topics. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.